apologies. That's open for.
That's what I thought. Oh, it's like 40. Yeah, okay, perfect. Alrighty.
I'm almost positive. I mean, if anything, this is that's my lucky.
Okay.
Are you new?
Well,
It's like Belmar.
well, yes. So this is for like a tryout assignment. So I applied. So thank you. I appreciate it. This is like John. Nice to meet you.
Sam here said.
Oh,
So if you need anything, I'll always say.
yeah, I might have some questions after because I'm writing a new story. So as I said, it's a position. So
We have a couple of ads. See if I can get your email. I've had someone send you
So I did plan, and I guess I planned on stories and did
Oh, okay. We good?
Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided to the Coast Star, the official newspaper of the Borough of Belmar, and the Asbury Park Press on January 3rd, 2023. A notice of this meeting was posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building. Take roll call. Councilman Brennan?
Here.
Mayor Buckafusco?
Here.
Councilman Romanero? Here. Councilman Levis?
Here.
And Councilman Kinney is absent.
Okay, please stand for the pledge of allegiance. Please remain standing for our troops, their families, first responders, and also Francis Cully, who was a 50-year resident who unfortunately died in the house fire on Surf Avenue back on March 15th. Thank you. We have two proclamations tonight, one for Arbor Day and the other for Child Abuse Prevention Month. And I'm going to turn it over to Council President Brennan for the Arbor Day proclamation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Okay, here we go. Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees. And whereas this holiday, called Arbor Day, was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. And whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world. And whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce life-giving oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in our town increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. Now, therefore, the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Belmar do hereby proclaim April 28th, 2023 as Arbor Day in the Borough of Belmar. And the Mayor and Council hereby urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands and to plant trees to gladden the heart and promote the well-being of this and future generations.
Thank you. I'm going to follow that up with a letter that I actually just got today from the Arbor Day Foundation. Apparently, due to the great work that our Shade Tree Commission has been doing, Belmar was named a 2022 Tree City USA by the Arbor Day Foundation to honor its commitment to effective urban forest management. You achieve this apparently by meeting the program's 4 requirements, which are maintaining a tree board or department, having a tree care ordinance, dedicating an annual community forestry budget of at least $2 per capita, and hosting an Arbor Day observance and proclamation. So I would like to, just congratulate the Shade Tree Commission on that. Obviously, I only got this today. If we had gotten it a little sooner, I would have invited them here, but maybe we can do that at the next meeting. But just came in today, and I think it's really a testament to all the hard work that the people on that commission are doing.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a proclamation for April is Child Abuse Prevention Month. Whereas we all have a responsibility as individuals, neighbors, community members, and citizens of the Borough of Belmar to help create healthy, nurturing, and safe experiences. And whereas healthy and safe childhoods help produce confident and successful adults, and whereas child abuse and neglect often occur when people find themselves in stressful situations without community resources and don't know how to cope. And whereas incidences of child abuse and neglect can be reduced by making sure all families have the support they need and deserve to raise their children in a healthy environment. And whereas court-appointed special advocates, CASA, is authorized by state statute and federal law to help the court and child welfare systems make best interest decisions on behalf of children removed from home because of abuse or neglect. And whereas CASA volunteer advocates in Belmar help to ensure that abused and neglected children who are placed in foster care and other out-of-home placements are safe and receive the services they need to achieve well-being. And whereas CASA advocates reduce the number of moves between placements, help shorten the overall time a child remains in placement, and serve as a consistent person in the child's life until that child achieves permanency in a safe home with a loving family. Now therefore, the Mayor and Council of Belmar do hereby proclaim April 2023 as Child Abuse Prevention Month and urge all citizens to support the CASA network across New Jersey as it strengthens families and helps children learn, grow, and thrive.
Thank you. Before we move on to workshop, I just have one other announcement. I'd like to announce that our Fire Marshal and Administrator, Ryan DeLay, will be leaving us as of Friday, I believe, and we want to wish him well. And, you know, he has worked for the town for many years, and he's going to be missed. So, congratulations, Ryan. Okay, workshop. Does anyone have anything they would like to discuss?
I'd like to bring something up, Mr. Mayor. I've been in contact with Belmar resident Kimberly Check as she brought up the idea of having banners for our high school graduating seniors. Lake Como has this, where there's a banner with the picture of the student and what school they're graduating from, whether that's St. Rose or Manasquan, Red Bank, and I do believe that we are really only looking at about 36 students. It's a small number of graduating seniors, but we sure are proud of them, and I think that this is a worthy project. Kim and I are talking about figuring out fundraising options, but I would love the Mayor and Council's support in this project. I've spoken to our business administrator, Kevin Kane, as well, about having similar banners made up for our hometown veterans. Maybe you've seen some other towns that have had this. Maybe closer to Veterans Day. It's a fairly simple but meaningful way to celebrate our Belmar residents. And that's what I have for that. Does anyone have any questions about the banners?
Wonderful idea.
I just want to understand, it's not only for certain schools, it's for any senior that lives in Belmar, whether they go to Manasquan, St. Rose, or some other high school.
Absolutely.
Correct?
As long as they're Belmar residents. That would be for that.
I think that's a great idea.
Okay. I also wanted to, I've seen and talked to a lot of people who were questioning that we have some aging signs around Belmar, some on 35, some on Main Street, and I just wanted to get kind of a status on that, if you want to let us know what's going on with those signs.
Yeah, after our discussion, we're working with DEP to compile a list of all the faded signs and then start a replacement program, just to get them taken care of. So as soon as when we finish the list, I'll get the list to you and let you know the progress we're making.
Great, thank you. And then garbage cans, I saw the garbage cans on Ocean Avenue. Is there any way to get more garbage cans by the marina and further down where the fishermen's boats are?
So we did have a discussion at a meeting this past week, I believe, with DPW head Billy, and he said he was going to look into getting something that would be sturdy enough to withstand, the winds and whatever at the, we're talking about the area right by Shark River, the inlet. So I believe they're looking into trying to come up with something. Kevin, did you want to
Yeah,
And-
there are a couple there already, but we were taking a look and see if it could be better.
Great, thank you.
Anything else? Okay, I have a few things. We were advised on March 31st that the borough received a municipal open space grant for $200,000, which is going for improvements to Lake Como. Essentially, that would be completing the path that was started by Spring Lake and Lake Como. So that, again, courtesy of the county, the $200,000. I haven't gotten the check yet, but, you know, I'm waiting to see when they actually give it to us. So I think that's a very positive thing for us. As far as the council people, I believe April had circulated two local ordinances from other towns regarding a question that a resident had in terms of preserving old trees in the borough on private property. I circulated that to you just so, you know, you could start to take a look at that, and I think perhaps in the next meeting, we can discuss the pros and cons of doing that, because it is it's not something that we've done, and, you know, it's an issue of, you know, private rights versus, you know, the towns saying what we want people to do on their property. I don't know if you want to add anything, Counselor?
Not particularly, Mayor, just that I have been looking into it, and whenever you enact an ordinance, you have to have it, you know, designed to reasonably meet a government purpose. So we have to define what that purpose is for our town. I've been looking at some cases involving the larger central Jersey, you know, out west townships, because there are reported cases there. But they talk more in terms of the need to regulate clear cutting and things of that nature. We in Belmar probably would be concerned with individual trees, perhaps, because we don't have forested areas. So we would have to look at that, what purpose we're looking to achieve. And that regulating individual trees is not tested in the law. So that would be something that, you know, would be a concern of mine.
Okay, and I'm going to actually pose the question to the Shade Tree Commission to see if they have any position, you know, pro or con on this aspect of, you know, changing the ordinance.
Right, to just get to the point, I think we need to really isolate the purpose of it.
Right, right. Okay. And the last thing I have is I had received an email back on, this was March 31st, notifying the borough that there is going to be actually from the Department of the DEP, regarding a project that a company is being, you know, they're asking for a permit to do a geotechnical survey off of the shore of Belmar, Spring Lake, Seagirt, and I believe it's Manasquan. And there was recently, actually it was Friday, March 31st, there was a notice published in the Asbury Park Press, which lays out generally what it is they want to do. But the important thing that I want to bring up tonight is a 30-day comment period if they decide to have a hearing. And they will decide to have a hearing if enough people write to them and say, we want a hearing. And based on what they have in the advertisement here, it says that the requests, individuals can request that the DEP holds a public hearing, but it shall be made in writing within 15 days of the date of this notice, and shall state the specific nature to be raised at the hearing. So, you know, we're at April 11th, so it looks like we have, you know, until like April 15th. If anyone wishes to write to the, DEP, I'm gonna have this posted on our website. I was also gonna ask the council if we thought it would be wise for us, or for me, as a mayor, to write to the DEP and say, yes, we would like to have a hearing to find out exactly what it is they're going to do. Now, in addition to that, they have sent us a copy of their application, which I have already posted on our website. If you look under where we have our new meeting notes and agendas and whatnot, there's a miscellaneous section, and there will be a document up there. I don't know the exact title of it. Is it just yeah, it says something like,
Geotechnical survey.
yeah, LU Geotechnical Survey. I have it printed out here, and it gives you just a little bit more information of what it is they want to do. Not a lot more, but basically, they say they want to do samplings, at a maximum of 35 locations to determine the near seafloor sediment conditions for export cable design, hazards avoidance, and to evaluate the potential for geoarchaeological resources. So it sounds to me like, in non-technical terms, they want to dig and they want to run some kind of a cable, probably from the ocean onshore somewhere, and my guess is, and it's just a guess, that it probably has something to do with the windmills at some point. I could be wrong, but I think if you're interested in finding out more, it wouldn't hurt to write to DEP and say, yeah, we would like to have a hearing and learn more about this. So this document is on our website right now. I will ask April to put the notice that was in the newspaper also on the website. And if anybody needs the address, they can either email me or see me after the meeting, and I'll give it to you. So that was the latest. I do not have anything else for workshop. Any other issues, questions?
I was just gonna add to that. I think that anything right now with our C4, if we have the option to be able to have a public hearing and to ask questions, I think that would be helpful for our public.
Okay. Okay, next, petitions.
I did not receive any petitions.
Okay. Approval of minutes.
Can I have a motion to approve the minutes of the March 28th meeting?
Motion?
Councilman Brennan?
Yes?
Mayor Buckafusco?
Yes.
Councilman Rondonero? Yes. Councilman Levin?
Yes.
Next is reports of council.
Okay, I'm actually going to take the liberty to go first tonight, because I have an important announcement or statement to make. I'd like to take this opportunity to apologize on behalf of myself and the council for our unintentional failure to acknowledge the efforts of our local fire companies during our last meeting. Belmar's Goodwill, Hook and Ladder, and Union Fire Companies, along with our mutual aid partners and other first responders, did a great job in extinguishing and containing the fire on Surf Avenue on March 15th. You may recall that that day was very windy, and but for the firefighting efforts of our volunteers, the fire could have easily spread to adjacent homes. Unfortunately, a longtime resident of Belmar, Frances Colley, passed away in the fire, and our thoughts and prayers are with her family and friends. Okay, that's all I have. Okay, Councilman Brennan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And
Council President.
that's kudos to our first responders. I don't really have any reports. There's a tourism meeting tomorrow, 5:30 here. There's an environmental commission meeting Thursday, 6:30 downstairs in the library. So I don't really have much to say about that. I do want to offer my thanks to Ryan D'Elia. He's done a great job for us. It's going to be, he's really done a great job for the town. All the work he's done. And it's a loss for us. We're going to be hard pressed to replace him. One other thing I wanted to mention, this is not necessarily borough business, but I have a friend, Johnny Comfort, you might know who he is. He's in the E-Borough Bandits, the band that they participated in our fundraiser concert at GJ's, the one for the piano a couple weeks ago. He's also the fellow that's put together the Belmar Porch Fest last year. And this year, the Porch Fest is May 13th, and he asked me to let people know that he's a little short on porches. A couple of porches that participated last year aren't going to do it again, and he's got so much entertainment. He's like, oh my God, I need more porches. So if you're on social media, on Facebook, you just look for the Belmar Porch Fest group, and there's a link to a form, and you just sign it up. It's a private event. It's not sponsored by the borough, even though it says Belmar Porch Fest, because we want to keep it in Belmar, because Mr. Comfort made it clear to me that if he doesn't get enough Belmar porches, he's going to have to look in Lake Como, and we cannot have that. Okay, so if you're interested, if you like the idea of having a party on your porch with free entertainment all day, sign up. Just look for it on Facebook, Belmar Porch Fest. And that's my report. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Councilwoman Rondinaro?
Thank you, Mayor. Good news. Last week, I received a call from Congressman Smith's office that the congressman has endorsed funding for the renovations of the Belmar Housing Authority building from his community project funding. We requested $676,000, mainly focused on renovation to the facade of the building and modernizing the elevator to bring it up to code. I was told that the BHA made the short list of the top 15 projects out of 60 projects around the congressional district. I'm so grateful to Congressman Smith, his office staff, especially Joe Schloter and Jeff Sapkin, as they're in full support of this important project for the health and safety of our residents. The congressman and his office staff have been advocating for the BHA since Executive Director Paul DeSantis reached out about the deterioration in October. So the next step is the congressman's funding endorsement will go to the subcommittee, and then they anticipate it becoming a House bill in the summer, hopefully in the Senate by September. There might be a 20% match requirement, although it's also possible to receive the full funding. So that's exciting. Gathering letters of support for this project from our Belmar charitable organizations, Belmar Cares, Circle of Friends, the Friendly Sons of the Shillelagh, and the Belmar Women's Club, and local representatives for this funding is exactly the kind of help that I was hoping to offer in my liaison role. So I'm thrilled. This is the good stuff. For those watching at home, or anyone who wants to add more fun to your evening, after the meeting, well, actually at 7 o'clock, so, choose where you go. Will be an award-winning speaker, Claire Garland, the director of the Sandhill Indian Historical Association at the Belmar Historical Society. And that's actually going to be in the Taylor Pavilion starting at 7. It's suitable for children, so perfect for an after-dinner activity. Light refreshments will be served. Belmar Cares has their free concert at the Taylor Pavilion Monday 1st at 7 p.m. featuring the Atlantic Wind Ensemble. And then I was just told that there is still time to participate in the borough-wide yard sale, one of my favorite days, May 13th and 14th. And if you just go to our website under tourism, you can sign up for that. The library has an author time event featuring the Venerable Bahante Sujatha, Loving Kindness Monk, on May 2nd at 12:30. And Cinco de Mayo will be celebrated May 4th at 5:30 at the Taylor Pavilion. Please join us to learn about the history of Cinco de Mayo, and please register on the library website as the seats fill up for this event. Library Director David Hallman let me know that there had the 4th window company come in for estimates for the renovation of the windows in the library, so that looks like it's going to be moving along soon, and I'll let you know as those renovation plans continue. Also bringing both of the Belmar Housing Authority and the library together, I discussed with Mr. Hallman and Louis Polito a potential need for our Housing Authority residents to access technology, perhaps a computer, allowing them to watch library events, our council meetings, help with email. As we know, the library has a Tech Thursday program currently, and Mr. Hallman's going to present at the next Belmar Housing Authority meeting to ask the residents how best the library can serve them. And that's what I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Levis?
Thank you, Mayor. First, I'd like to start off by thanking our wonderful rec department for the great egg hunt that they put on over the weekend. That was fantastic. The weather was great, a little chilly, but the kids had a lot of eggs, and I saw a lot of smiling faces. I'd also like to remind everyone the next Harbor Commission meeting is next Tuesday at 6 p.m. And another cool event that will be happening in town coming up is the Shillelagh Polar Bear Plunge for Autism. This is Saturday, April 22nd at 1 p.m. It's in front of DJ's. It's $35 to plunge. I'll be plunging. It won't be too cold, but it will still be colder than I want it to be. It's $20 if you just want to go for the after party. Last year they raised close to $40,000. That went towards Autism MVP. They're hoping to raise $50,000 this year. So if you make a $100 donation, you get the plunge, you get to go to the after party, and you get a hooded sweatshirt. But what I would encourage everyone, if you can handle it, sign up, jump in, take the plunge. Enjoy it. That's all I have, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. I guess we're up to public session on the resolutions.
Yes, if anyone would like to speak about a resolution on the agenda, please step forward, state your name and address.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Katrina Klaus's B Street. Couple things, actually. I've been away for a while, so I've missed so much. Happy to be home. On the resolutions, we are losing one of our part-time CFOs. Is that correct, Christine?
That is correct.
That is correct. Okay. She's resigning, right? So how are we going to go about replacing her? Is there going to be a full-time position? Are you just keeping Lorraine half-time? Do we have a plan?
I'm gonna punt this to Administrator Kane.
Yes, Samantha Waters, who also handles HR, is helping out with finance. She's actually sitting for her CMFO test in June, so she'll be working with Lorraine and Bridget also.
Okay, so that's
yes,
perfect.
we're covered there.
Right, that's
Thank
great, because I know she was working, she's been doing that education since the prior administration, correct? To get the certification to do the CFO?
Correct. There's many courses and she's finished all the courses. She
Beautiful.
sits for her test in June.
Beautiful, that's great, thank you. Okay, and resolution 2023-101, appointing and confirming special counsel.
Yes.
I see that it's Mr. Dasty's firm, our former borough counsel.
Yes.
Can you tell me what position, why are we appointing him, and for what?
Okay, there's ongoing litigation regarding the property on, I guess that's corner of 8th and Main, the Sackman property, and he had handled that, he was
Right.
involved in that.
Okay,
And it was just determined that it would make sense for his firm to continue
that's beautiful.
Continue on that.
That's great, thank you very much. I knew it would have, probably had to do with something that was already in the works. Thank you. And 2023-102, is this plan available to the public online anywhere?
It will be. We got a copy of it just like yesterday.
Right, yeah, it's
Today.
still in draft form. Once it's adopted, it has to be signed by multiple people, and then it'll be submitted to the county, and we'll be able to post it online.
Okay, and who developed this plan? Who was in charge of, who developed it?
Is the OEM coordinator.
Who is?
Tucker Brendel and Brian Popper work with the county.
Okay. Okay, that's it on resolutions. Thank you. Thank you
You're
very
welcome.
much.
I think Mr. Creamer.
Gene Kramer, Fourth Avenue. I just got a couple of questions on resolution 2023-93. This is the resolution to authorize dedication by writer for donations, acceptance of bequests and gifts for the skate park reconstruction in the borough of Belmar. My question there is any donations or bequests or gifts, can the donations only be used exclusively for a skateboard park, or could it be used for other perhaps recreational facilities?
It's my understanding, but I'll have Administrator Kane say more about it. It's my understanding that it's only for the skate park. Is that what the?
Correct, by doing this dedication by rider, they're allocated specifically for a skate park project. Any donations that come in earmarked for that.
Okay, I just want to remind the town that the original skateboard park was all donated money. And actually, that donated money was, a better portion of it was to build a bridge across Silver Lake. In fact, the wood pile for the bridge across Silver Lake is right down by the roundy round, or the circle, as the corner of 6th Avenue and C Street. If you get out to the lake's edge, you'll see a wood pile there that's still waiting for a bridge to be built. Then, I guess the reason I'm bringing this up, to dedicate money, raises the question, what if the skate park never gets rebuilt? What happens to those donations?
Okay, that's my cue to punt to the Borough Council on that one.
Wrong punt, Mayor. We'll have to take a look at that. I think that's more of a CFO question, but
It
I will,
probably is,
I'll
yeah.
talk to her about it.
We will definitely find out what, what would happen. But we're optimistic that it's gonna go forward, but I understand your question.
Yeah.
I know Councilman Kinney is on the skateboard committee, and they're working very hard. They're extremely dedicated to making sure that the skate park is rebuilt and that it happens within a decent amount of time. We know that there's a lot of planning to that, but it looks like it's in process.
Yeah, I was gonna say that same thing. The committee is pretty passionate about seeing this through, so.
This debate had taken place many years ago. Taking the money from what was supposed to be dedicated for building a bridge to building a skateboard park. And even the mayor and council, I believe, were split 50-50 on the issue. What did happen, actually, I believe the proceeds from the mayor's ball that was held every year in the Barclay, that money went to build, was for the purpose of building a bridge across Silver Lake. Then, somebody had a different idea and said, well, why don't we build a skateboard park? My children are interested in that now. They're still around, those people, but their kids have grown up, and their interest in it has waned. I think it'd be a good idea to leave the door open on this and not necessarily tie us down. As you may or may not know, the Dempsey Park there is a hazardous waste site. And although the borough owns the property, we don't have full enjoyment of the property. Can't put anything into the ground or touch the paved surface. Likewise, before even asking people to donate money to something, it might be a good idea to talk to the people that have control over that, and that's actually Jersey Central Power and Light Company. They're the responsible party, and this, by the way, that property is not going to be a quick cleanup like the gas station on 12th and Main. We're talking about, all the horrors of hell are down below that paved surface. And, you know, I hate to see the town spend money, essentially, the site's encapsulated. I hate to see the town spend money on a sarcophagus to build on top of this hazardous waste site. I certainly would much rather see the site remediated and cleaned up. You know, this was discovered by the Department of Public Works years ago, and there has been no attempt or nothing more than encapsulating the site and monitoring the site for many, many years. One thing I gotta say about the skateboard park, though, when it came to raising money, when it was decided to use this donated money to build the skateboard park, I believe the biggest donator or biggest donor was a group of orthopedic surgeons. So you might want to look. And the other resolution I want to comment on is 2023-102. And this is a simple question. This is a resolution to adopt emergency operations plan for the borough of Belmar and promulgate same as the authoritative document for emergency operations within the borough of Belmar. I have one quick question here. When it comes to emergency management, is the chief of police going to be at the top of chain of command?
I believe the way the office works, and you can correct me again if I'm wrong, Administrator Kane, I think the chief is actually part of that whole organization. But I think by statute, I think we have to have our own coordinator and assistant coordinator. Am I on the right track there?
Yes, that's correct, there. The chief will be involved with this, though.
Yeah, I understand that. Very good. Actually, I am familiar with emergency management plans that involve evacuation. And I guess what I'm trying to say, I don't want to hear some politician calling me on the phone telling me that I have to evacuate from my house. Last time that we did that here in town, it was a miserable failure. We didn't have any fatalities, but I'm not sure we're gonna have the luck of the Irish the next time we have to evacuate in town.
So Mayor, that comes from the state level to the county level down to us, and then our emergency manager would be handling those situations in Belmar. So that's the whole coordinated effort on the local, county, and state level. So it wouldn't be anybody, I don't think you'd be getting a call from a politician telling you that you have to leave, but it would be an entire coordinated decision through the state.
That's what happened last time, though, that we had an evacuation in town. Everybody in town, east of Main Street, this was for Sandy, that was not done by the chief of police. It should have been, because only the chief of police has the power of law to force an evacuation.
Well,
That's what I mean by chain of command.
it comes down through the state to the county when a state of emergency is declared, so things kind of line up that way so that we're all in sync, so we all understand what's going on. So that decision isn't made locally to evacuate. And actually the power to evacuate originates with the governor under a state of emergency.
Yeah, okay, I'm actually thinking about how about smaller scale. A shooter on top of the Mayfair and 60,000 people sitting on the beach.
Not certain, but I think that's a police event, and that would be the chief of police.
Okay. I just want to make sure that the chief of police, people listen to the police department, they don't listen to politicians. And I think that's been proven quite a few times in the state of New Jersey, not just here in Belmar. But you may recall that Governor Christie had ordered people off the beach at one time. It wasn't Sandy, but it was another storm. And it was completely ignored, even though it did come from the governor's office. I don't want to belabor it, I'm just saying is that, you know, I think if there's notification or an evacuation order here in town, and it's dispatched locally over our own phone system that we have here, that it be done by the chief of police. That's it, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I've also had a few questions from residents recently, that if there is an emergency, should they have the OEM's information? And I talked to Ryan Tilly. I hope he has we really appreciate all that he's done. Congratulations to him, but I also spoke to the chief. And it's still, if you have an emergency, please go through our police dispatch. You know, you can call 911, you can call the police station here in Belmar. So I know that there were a lot of people who said, oh, can I get the number of the OEM? And you'd still be calling the police station here. Thanks.
Okay, any other comments?
Can I have a motion to close the public session?
Motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
So we are going to table resolution 2023-96, a resolution appointing members to the Shade Tree Commission. We're going to table that to the next meeting so we can make some changes. Could we have a motion to table it and remove it from the consent agenda? I'll make the motion.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended?
Motion.
Second.
Okay, Councilman Brennan?
Yes.
Mayor Buckafusco?
Yes.
Councilman Rondinaro?
Yes.
Councilman Levis?
Yes.
All right, next is first reading and introduction of ordinance 2023-6. This is an ordinance amending or rescinding ordinance 2022-02, the amendment to the Seaport Village redevelopment plan for block 87 lots 1 through 3. Do we have a motion to offer for first reading and introduction?
Motion.
Councilman Brennan?
Yes.
Mayor Buckafusco?
Yes.
Councilman Rondinaro?
Yes.
Councilman Levis?
Yes.
And next is ordinance 2023-7. This is an ordinance amending Chapter 40 Development Regulations to eliminate the multifamily cluster development zone established under Section 40-6.13. Do we have a motion to offer this ordinance for first reading and introduction?
Motion.
Second. Councilman Brennan?
Yes.
Mayor Buckafusco?
Yes.
Councilman Rondinero?
Yes.
Councilman Levis?
Yes.
Okay, now we're on to public session. If anyone would like to speak, please step forward, state your name and address.
Tom Dover, 1000 River Road. I just like to move on from what Gene just said about the skate park situation that has become. It's a couple of years now, the stupid thing has been closed. And here we are, still fooling around, and there's no skateboard park. Now, Gene referenced a bridge that people, children and everything that would have enjoyed the bridge, are teenagers in their 20s now. Is that going to be the same thing that with the boys that enjoyed the skateboard park? They're going to be in their 20s and 30s and maybe 40s by the time we get the stupid thing done? Mother McCree, that's enough. Get it done. Oh.
Anyone else have a comment?
Hi, good, Martha Maselko, 102 North Boulevard.
Yeah, I think the microphone might be a little on the further.
This way?
Oh. There you go.
I just wanted to say thank you. I was so happy to hear about the walkway being finished because people really use that walkway. It'll be wonderful. The other question I had was about the fountain. They talked about, the last administration, about putting a fountain in Lake Como, and it wasn't done at the end of the year because there was no time left, but it was promised that it would be done in the spring. And I know that cost some money, so I just want to check and let you know that over in our end of town, we would like that to happen.
Okay, this is the first time I'm hearing of that. I'll punt that to the administrator also.
Yeah, I had a couple, discussions with, Billy Musto from DPW.
Yeah.
The plan was to use a couple of the old ones in Lake Como. And when they started taking them out for this year to put them in both lakes, the old ones aren't functioning. So, it's gonna become a budget issue that, I'm not sure we budgeted for that, but we're gonna be discussing it. Billy's away this week, so, but right before he left, they had taken them out, and, the plan to use the old ones isn't gonna work, so.
Well, I guess if we can get one, a new one would even be better than the old one, and I'd appreciate if we can look at the budget.
And I understand Lake Como has one, but it's being repaired, you know, theirs was down, and I think that's being sent out for repair, so there'll be one, at least one in there, and we're gonna look into what we can do from our end.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
John Murray, 18th Avenue. First, I'd like to commend the police department in their quick response to the fire on Surf Avenue several weeks ago. Living on 18th Avenue, you sort of get accustomed to police cars shooting up the block. But that particular day, there really seemed to be a sense of urgency. And when I went on my porch and I looked out, I could see why they did such a good job. I'd also like to thank our fire department, first aid squad, and our mutual aid communities for their professionalism and training in containing the fire to that one structure. It was such a windy day, and every time we thought that the fire was going out, the wind would kick it right back up again. So they did a fantastic job on that. I'd also like to thank the chief of police for several months ago, my wife spoke to her about the speeding on 18th Avenue, and within a day or so, we had a sign, you know, your speed is, and I really believe it did help, but I would like to talk to her as the summer starts to maybe come up with some other alternatives, because I wouldn't want that sign in front of my house for the entire summer. Now, getting back to the fire, while they were extinguishing it, there was a tremendous buildup of water in the street. And this is due to the fact that there are no sewer drains on that corner. There's a pipe that runs across, and the water is supposed to drain from one side to the other. Unfortunately, the pipe is below street level, so the water builds up. And every week, when DJ washes their garbage cans, the water flows down one side, settles in the pipe, and as we're walking to the beach, we have to jump over puddles. You see distilled water where the garbage is building up. You talk about mosquitoes and whatnot. So I was just wondering if there's any way that you can look into trying to alleviate that position. Let's see. In regards to the other corner, on 18th and Schneider, we had talked about possibly making them handicapped accessible. My wife, I believe, spoke to Mr. Kane about it, and he said that there was a need, but it comes down to who pays. I believe that at one time the town received grant money to do handicapped accessibility work in the center of town. If we did receive this money and it wasn't used, is there any way that it can be transferred to this type of project? The other thing is, if it can't be, we've had a very mild winter. No overtime, no need to purchase anti-salting, how do I phrase it? Street treatment materials. Could monies be transferred to, since it's all gonna be public works, into a project to rectify the handicapped accessibility problem? We do know that Lake Como is doing that right now. I received a notice that they're working on 18th, up to 18th and B. And they end on their side of B, not our side. If we don't have the money, could you look into how they got their money? Was it a grant or budgeting? And possibly we could do something along those lines. And lastly, can you tell me what's going on with the rescue squad building? Are we doing anything with it?
At the present time, I believe they're still looking at the contamination that's there. I don't know where we're at in terms of how much longer they need to do that. Do you have any idea what we're?
No, the engineers have been working with the, people, Stattle, who's remediating. One of the wells, I think there's 4 monitoring wells on the property. At one of the wells collapsed, they had to replace one of the wells. So our engineer, Jim Morris, has been in contact with Kevin Stattle on the progress of that. So we'll get a report for you at the next meeting on that.
I mean, I would assume at some point they're going to tell us it's clear to do whatever it is we want to do, but I don't know when that point will be.
Yeah, I know we have to remove the soil at some point, so.
And will someone eventually get back to me about the, the street, the curbs on 18th and Schneider and possibly on the Surf, if there's any way we can alleviate the water buildup there?
Yeah, I was gonna, go through the 3 issues that you brought up. The water buildup, we'll have to have someone from our sewer and water take a look at that to see if there's anything that can be done for that. In terms of the handicap money, I don't know that there was any left from a prior grant. I would probably doubt it, or else it would have come up in our discussions, in our budget discussions this year. And in terms of savings, the budget has already been done. Any savings, is incorporated already into the budget. But that's not to say that there's not money available to do certain things. So we would have to touch base with the CFO, see what it is we're, plan on spending money on, and as the year goes on, see how, things are starting to work out.
Okay, you will look into like the same types of grants that may be looked at?
Absolutely.
Good.
Yes.
Thank you.
Can I make one comment though, Mayor? Aren't those curbs the responsibility of the homeowner to repair and make upgrades when they get condemned? Right, a couple of years ago, we did a whole project for the sidewalks in all the towns, and a bunch of sidewalks were condemned, and there was a big, we basically pooled all the resources so everybody could jump in and get their sidewalks.
Yeah, I believe it was up to the homeowner
Yeah.
if they wanted to make it handicapped accessible.
No, if they had to replace it, then it had to be replaced as handicap accessible.
I don't know, if you look at the Schneider, I believe there was one sidewalk in which the curb was
It was
rebuilt.
replaced, but
Yes,
not made
but it was not made
handicap
handicap accessible. If you look at the other 3, there are no curbs there. So,
That's something we'll have to talk with our DPW director and see what the condition is.
Yeah,
If those curbs are in a shape where they need to be condemned, then we need to address that.
and then you would, if you decide to condemn it, then you're going to ask the homeowner to foot the bill for that?
Just like if you were rebuilding any of your sidewalks, you would be responsible for funding to replace your sidewalks.
Yeah, most road repair work today, they replace curbs, sidewalks, ramps, driveways and all that. So what we'll do is I'll meet with Billy, we'll go out there, we'll see what kind of road work. I mean, the CFO is working on our capital plan as we speak. So we'll look at what road schedules are out there and we'll take a look and see what the cost factor is and see what we can do about this.
Okay, thank you.
Or 18th to be, I didn't have anything until John came up. And this, so it's been over 5 years, trying to wait skate park, okay? I don't wanna be 85 and see those curbs fixed, okay? I brought it up 5 years ago, nothing's happened. I sent you all an email with the correspondence from the last go-round, okay? Which did say it was the homeowners at that point. But how is it that almost every single curbing has a ramp, except on Fourth? I know you mentioned Fourth last time also, doesn't have it. The whole town has it, except a few. So something had to be done town-wide, and this was missed. That's all.
Hi, Jim DeOria, 217 8th. Has there been a status update on the bathrooms on the beach?
The short answer is no. We are getting to the point where we will be probably by the end of the week composing some kind of a correspondence to the DEP.
So
Letting them know.
we have to discuss that.
Yeah, I know.
The business administrator and I have a plan to discuss that, so we probably should just leave it there at this point.
He's telling you to be quiet.
No, we have like 6 weeks to go to Memorial Day.
No, we are well aware, we
Yeah.
are well aware of the deadline. And yeah, we'll be discussing that in-house, and we'll be the first to know what
Thank you.
happens. Thank you. Thank you, Councilor, for that advice.
Michael Paul Carey on A Street in Belmar. I guess I wanted to understand what the position of the council is on the Verizon cell phone towers on the ocean, and assuming that everyone proposes these things which seem totally unnecessary, how are we going to fight this?
Okay, as I have said before, and I think people may have misunderstood the fact that we weren't going to do anything because we just didn't want to do anything. It's really, it's a difficult situation because there's little that we can do because we are bound by the agreement that was made back in, I think it was August 2022, which is essentially a court judgment, a consent judgment that designates what we as the borough must do. So we are bound by that. I don't think there's an option to realistically open that up and try to modify that. I mean, Counselor, you can
Right.
tell us the pros and cons of that.
Well, it's a settlement.
Yes.
Okay, and the courts take settlements very seriously. And they don't reopen unless there's fraud or something of that nature. Okay, so like, what are we gonna do to fight this? That fight has been fought. And it was resolved through a settlement, and that.
Excuse me, but it doesn't seem like we fought this at all. It seems like it just happened.
Well, the fight,
But,
I can't
Someone
comment
can
on that.
explain,
I
maybe-
can't comment on how it was fought, but there was litigation regarding this situation, and it resulted in a resolution. Now, it's difficult, and when I say difficult, I mean fairly impossible to reopen. It's a settlement. The court's not gonna allow the municipality or any party to a litigated matter to simply come back and say, we have buyer's remorse. We don't like this deal. We want to reopen it and renegotiate it. So that's what we're looking at when the mayor says, you know, there's very little that we can do. That being said, we are in discussions with Verizon to perhaps tweak the aesthetics of it. But I'm not discussing that at this point in time. I think that's ongoing with the engineers because it's kind of an engineering thing, depending on what we want and what they can do.
I guess it seems like we need our own expert on this because Verizon can tell us anything and we don't understand
Well,
whether
they
they're
had,
telling us the truth or not.
they had the trump card of the law on their side. So, you know, they're federally regulated. We have very little that we can, you know, put forward in court to stop Communications, whether you like 5G or not, you know, the federal government says we're gonna have 5G, so, that's what we're up against. You know,
I
we're
think
up
there are
against-
other ways to do it than putting 20 towers on Ocean Avenue. Couldn't we put a big one back, say, by the rat tail? I mean, there's plenty of room there.
Right, not a legal question.
I guess, yeah, I know, it's not a legal question. I guess the question is Verizon tells us what they want to do, and this is the only way to do it. But I know how these technical people are, right? They want to do it a certain way, and they're going to tell us there's no other way.
I can tell you one of the things a couple of things. One of the things that I learned back when they wanted to put the cell towers on top of the Mayfair, it was made clear that the FCC's position is the telecoms providing service to their customers supersedes the municipality's concerns about appearance or anything like that. As far as the negotiations with these poles, I was there listening to their negotiations in the last administration. One of the things we got Verizon to do, Verizon at first didn't want to share the poles with any of the providers, which would leave us at the mercy of the other providers, because if Verizon puts up their poles and somebody else wants them, the FCC's like, you have to let them put them up. So we were able to get Verizon to agree to let other carriers utilize the poles. And there was a lot of back and forth about aesthetics, but that's about it. That's about all we have any way to negotiate with them. And the reason we went to court was because we wouldn't agree with Verizon for so long. And we basically just said, we just kept dragging our feet, and Verizon's the one that took us to court, and this is a settlement that they got from us. And at least we got them to use another, other providers.
I guess the question is, we settled though. We should have.
Well, we basically were forced to settle. We could have said, no, we're not going to go to court, and then Verizon would have been, well, look, okay, we'll do whatever we want, because that's where they're at. They can do whatever they want.
I guess I find that hard to believe. I know anecdotally of other people who fought these things and changed what they wanted to do.
Very rarely have I read anyone who has managed to fend off Verizon in any way, shape, or form. I mean, you can do the research.
I guess I feel like we're giving up without even fighting this. And so.
It's been fought, sir.
Yeah,
It was fought by our predecessors who were here before we were elected.
Yeah, they didn't like it anymore than
So
we did.
I do commend them for at least trying to fight it, but as our attorney has said, this is a settlement agreement that we are not allowed to deviate from.
I mean, if you want to say after, I can refer you to like 2 or 3 articles written, very, straightforward, fact-driven articles which lay out exactly what Congress did, what they let the FCC do in order to let these telecom companies basically determine what they wanted to do, when they wanted to do, and where they wanted to do it, leaving the municipalities, the counties, and the states with basically no recourse. And I know it sounds unbelievable, but it is the way it is. And, it's just like if they want to put a pole in front of your house, they're going to put a pole in front of your house. And there's really nothing much that anybody can do to stop that. And that's, and that's the power of, can you hear me now? Yeah, we hear you.
I think we need to do something about this.
I wish you good luck. Really, I do. Yeah.
Good evening, Sharon Mahoney, 800 Main Street. I've got a few things I'd like to address. Year-round bathrooms. So the bathroom situation. Okay, year-round bathrooms, right? At the beach. So Spring Lake has a year-round bathroom in each pavilion, just the unisex bathroom in their buildings that they keep open. And now, as of right now, both the men's and women's bathrooms are open for the season. So have we considered can we use the 5th Avenue building, the 10th Avenue building, to have year-round bathrooms at the beachfront versus the porta potties? Or is there any structure on the west side? Look at Sidoroff's old building, that's just sitting there next to DJ's, something like that could be utilized or not taken over, but for a year-round bathroom situation along the beachfront.
We have considered and are considering many different options. really what we're asking for now is just a temporary, basically approval to put the bathrooms out so that we can address the issue long-term, hopefully with permanent bathrooms. That's really the goal that we have. So to answer your question, yes, we haven't necessarily focused on any particular strategy yet on how to do that, but we need to get through the summer. And then, we're trying to convince DEP that, yes, we will work with them, we will move towards permanent bathrooms, but we need to deal with the immediate issue, which is having, people come on the weekends and have a place for them to go to the restroom. But yes, we have considered, and we would consider, anything like that. I mean, my goal was initially at one of the first meetings was like, we need to do something permanent so we don't do this every year. Because, laws change, people in organizations change, somebody says this year it's okay, next year, I didn't really like the way they did that. So, we really, our goal is to try to get something more permanent on the beach, so we're not dealing with this issue year after year after year.
Is the Fifth Avenue building or the 10th Avenue building set up to have bathroom access from the outside?
Nothing is set up for
Neither
bathroom
one of those
access
buildings?
as it is right now, no.
Okay. Would have been nice to have been a thought when they built those buildings,
Well-
rebuilt those buildings. So, last year I asked about fix-it stations around town, specifically on the boardwalk. Jody had, replied a couple times. It's been more than once I've asked about this. Those fix-it stations you see in like county parks, and I've seen them all over. I'm just on a road trip to Florida. I see them a lot of towns. And someone recommended not just the one for bikes, but one that provides tools for skateboards. So the last, Tom, you were on there, the last council members and mayor said they would look into it. I want to know what's happening with it.
This is the first I'm hearing of it.
Okay.
I've never heard of a
Yeah.
fixed station before.
Yeah, so they're called fix-it stations, and they stand, I don't know, like yay high or something, and there's something that usually sticks out, you can actually put a bike on it, and there's tools hanging from it that are secured to the structure, and it is mounted somewhere and like bolted in somewhere. It's not something that can be moved, so you have to decide like a couple spots, maybe along the boardwalk that they could be
Well,
put over
that's
by
the
the
first
skate
problem.
park.
That's the first
Understood.
problem.
Or on the
DEP will
street,
say,
yeah.
you're not allowed to put anything permanent on the boardwalk.
So on the street. And then skate park, McCleary Park, again, a couple places where people know where these things might be. Okay, I gotta lock that on my phone, hold on. Okay, recycling hours. This is not the first time that I've mentioned this to someone. One of my neighbors I've been to a bunch of times. Every time I try to go there and I realize, oh my gosh, it's almost 5 o'clock, they're closed. So when I asked someone the last time who was actually still there, or maybe it was the next time I went, it was during the day, he said, oh no, we closed the gates at like 4:45. But the sign outside says you're open till 5. So if they're only open till 4:45, then say 4:45. And a lot of times when the time they open in the morning, the person doesn't really open the gate, until like 5-10 minutes later. So either adjust those times accordingly or make sure that they're actually working to the hours that they said they're working, so.
Yeah, we'll discuss that with the DPW director.
Okay. 8th Avenue and Main Street, pedestrian signs and the striping that has been brought up before. Any movement on what's going on with that project?
The only thing we were notified, weeks ago was that the crosswalk in front of the senior building was going to be modified. We haven't heard anything about unless you have.
Yeah, and I spoke to Vanessa Meads from DEP, and there will be another, it's not her office, they're doing that mid-block crosswalk, but they're gonna coordinate it and do it all at the same time. So the short answer is, when they do that work, yes, we're gonna have that.
Is there a
crosswalk.
time frame when that might happen?
She did say that.
Been
But
asking
it's-
for quite a few years.
It's in their design phase right now, so, she didn't give a timeline on when they're actually gonna start construction.
Yeah, that intersection's a hot mess, I gotta tell you. Okay, someone brought up replacement signs, I believe, around town, right? I've also asked this a few times, and obviously previous council. At the lake, do not feed wildlife signs around the lake. I think there might have been one at some point, but I don't see any now. There used to be one, actually, I'm not sure if there even was one where the dock is. There also used to be a sign that there's a safety buoy that is now, the sign's gone, the buoy's gone.
Yeah, they're always gone.
Yeah, so.
There's still a sign, there's one sign about do not, because I walk my dog there every day.
Yeah, it's on the west
It
side,
needs to
right?
be cleaned, it's dirty.
Right.
You can hardly see it, but, you know.
But that's not where people feed the wildlife. They feed them from the dock. That's where it really should be. So I'd like to know if we can get those signs out there and, you know, all the other towns have them. You know, I've actually, I wouldn't say scolded people, but I'll say, you know, like, you shouldn't feed the wildlife and here's why. And they look at me like, you know, I'm crazy. I'm like, I'm gonna take your bag right now. And I think that's, oh wait, hold on. Yeah, the buoy and the wildlife signs around the lake. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Jim Lonergan from 6th Avenue. I came here to talk about the geese, but I'm going to scrap that for tonight and go in a different direction. I've lived down in Belmar. We've had a house down here for 22 years. We just moved down full-time in July, so we're first time I'm sitting before you guys, so congrats to those that won this recently. I step back, a couple things first, Mayor. You mentioned at some point about a cable from the sea, from the ocean to uptown, asking for maybe doing a survey or a hearing. I don't think, I'll ask the councils, anyone on this council doesn't think we need a hearing for that? Anyone?
Oh, we all agree. I think absolutely.
Yeah, the question is, do you disagree that we need a hearing for that?
No.
If you do, and I'll speak from being council president in Chatham for 10 years, if you do, write the letter from the council mayor to them now, or tomorrow, and you'll get a hearing. You don't need the rest of the people here, that's your authority.
Well, that's why we have the work session, so that we can talk as a group and decide that that's what we wanted to do. I wouldn't take it upon myself unless it was an emergency.
Sounds like the
you
group
know,
wants to do it.
that.
I'm sure the town wants to do
Yeah,
it.
we can
We
do
should
it.
just do it, write the letter, and get ahead of it.
Absolutely.
I came, and really it came, but it's interesting on Verizon, that's kind of why I'm here also. But sitting here, listening, which is interesting, the hazardous waste site somewhere in town, I heard gas station on 12th and Main's an issue, running cable from Ocean, I just mentioned, skate park, different topic. The EMS building, whatever we call it, there's an issue there. I think the one thing, and I think this is a great town, that's why we're down here full time, but the one thing that we do have is the ocean, and it's phenomenal. And you're gonna do everything you can in your power to protect it. Having gone through Verizon, AT&T, same thing in Chatham, towers where they wanna put them. Yeah, you can fight it, but yeah, you're not gonna win the whole battle. You'll end up getting a little bit, you'll get something from them. How do you do it? You talk to your congressman, you talk to your assemblyman, you talk to them, because they have a link directly to what you're talking about. They helped us get through that process. My fear, and I understand, Mr. Brennan, you're a part of it, is it is late in the game. And I don't disagree, it's late in the game. The game was to play, the last couple of years, but it's never late. And people you have at your disposal sit outside this town. There's certain things the town can control fully, a lot of things they can't. That's one of them you can't control fully. But you have people that represent you to do what they need to do to help you get through this process. So it is late, there's no question, but we had movement on what they originally wanted from the start to what they got. And we got decent movement, but yeah, they still put towers up. So I wouldn't say this is dead, it's late, but I think you make some calls to Trenton and you make some calls to wherever you make calls outside this town to get them to help you get through this, to at least take the one asset that we have, which is a great asset, and get them off the boardwalk. Do it quick. Make the calls. I'll make the calls. I know Smith. Make the calls.
I would encourage people, in addition to us, to make the calls too.
I get it.
The more
You're
people
the
they hear
mayor.
from it.
You make the call.
Yes,
I'm just telling
absolutely.
you, it sits with you guys.
And I don't know if the prior administration made the calls. They may have, but, so
Yeah,
we'll do
I
it
know,
again.
Mr. Brennan, you're part of the prior, you were part of the prior council. I don't know if it was back then, you were on. Not when it was on, but you were part of the prior council.
Yeah.
And I know Ms. King was on, part of the council too. So I'm not looking back at that because you really can't, but it's never too late. You may get a little movement, maybe that's all you need. And that would be my recommendation, to do it yesterday. So.
Well, a lot of it is also very fact sensitive, because we knew when we were doing the hearings, the reason why they want the 20 towers is because we have 50,000 people on the beach, for like 3 days, every 10 weeks, so that's what they, it's different than if they wanted to put towers along Main Street because there's less intensity in terms of that.
Sure.
But, that's the reason for the 20 towers, and I agree, I don't know that much about RF, millimeter wave stuff, but it does seem like overkill. The other thing that played into it was they they created a situation where they wanted to put a 4G hub on top of a building on Ocean Avenue called Mama Luke's. And that went, that team started that whole process. And then the 5G team started their process. And it was kind of like a tag team. It was like, well, we're going to proceed before the planning board or the zoning board with this one. And, we had experts and everything come up for that. And then, the 5G people were just kind of laying low. And, and before you know it, they agreed to drop the 4G case and the 5G case. I mean, I understand the pressures that the prior council was up against in
No
terms
doubt.
of trying to deal with this issue.
Can
But,
I just ask, how long ago did they start the process? Just like, is it a 3-year
A year and a
process?
half.
A year and a half.
Year and a half.
Okay. So I don't think it's dead. I don't think they're gonna move dramatically, but you have one asset. It's a great asset, and I do everything you can to get it off the beach.
Absolutely.
Good job.
Yeah. Well, I have to say something.
George Will on Third Avenue. Real quick, Tom, you probably remember, I think we won one time where they snuck a tower. Remember they snuck some huge tower on 13th Avenue?
17.
Oh, that was a pole that they put in illegally. That
That
was,
had nothing to do with the,
no, that was a that was a zoning violation
Okay.
where they
I
put the
didn't know
pole
if
in
it had
way
one
too
thing
high,
to do with the other.
and we were able to make them take it down.
Hi, Kate Colcarry, 8th Street in Belmar. And I just want to say that this is our crown jewel, our boardwalk, our ocean. We don't want these ruining our boardwalk and our ocean.
I agree with you. I've been coming here for 68 years. That's priceless.
It'd be hideous. It's ridiculous.
Kathy Snyder, 2000 Ocean Ave. Mark and I bought our home in December of '21, and the first time we heard, and we're right on Ocean Ave, we heard of these cell towers was last week or 2 weeks ago after your meeting. I can't tell you how upset we were, how concerned I was. It sounded like from that article that somebody missed the deadline to reply or, well, that was what the article sounded like. There was an appeal process and we missed that window. So that was very upsetting, but I've done a ton of research since then, looking up, Verizon was talking about all the way down the shore from Jersey to Maryland to Delaware. I don't see these going up anyplace else. I don't know, unfortunately, you weren't at the League of Municipalities this past November. I know it was a topic down there. I don't think, why Belmar? Why, what are the other towns doing? They're not appearing on anybody else's boardwalk. It would be, not to tell you what to do, but I don't know, are you speaking to Spring Lake, to Bradley, to Manasquan? It looks like people are fighting and are winning. You hired special counsel from the last administration to look into the last problem. Maybe we get them back and figure out what happened, and apparently some of you were on then, but I think, for the health of the residents, just for the visitors for 2 months out of the year, come to Belmar, we have great 5G service, that's gonna be our tagline. It's for our health, it's the marine health, there's concerns over data security. You had mentioned no pole in front of the senior citizen center. I'm like, but what about in front of my house? How do you pick that place and not another place?
I think I actually mentioned Taylor Pavilion. It wasn't the same.
Right. There's no studies showing that they are harmful, but there's no studies showing that they're not harmful. I couldn't find a place where we have this many towers in one area. I think there's a lot we can do. I don't believe there was any notice given. Maybe if we really go back and search, maybe there is some I that wasn't dotted or a T that wasn't crossed.
Yes.
I really don't think we should just say, okay, I would like to see you make it a priority. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, just the reason why this has come to light over the past few weeks is because we were sent an email asking us, we need to answer 4 questions. What color did the poles want to be? Do we want to put a street light extending over the top? Do we want a spot for a camera? And do we want electric to put up Christmas decorations? And we're like, what are you talking about? They said for the 5G poles along the boardwalk. So we said to the company that's been contracted by Verizon to design these, can we have a site meeting? So myself, Billy Musto, the DPW director, and our engineer, Jim Morris, met with the representatives from this company, and that's when they told us that basically there's gonna be 20 poles right between the boardwalk and the curb at the end of every avenue. And at that meeting, we all said, this is ridiculous. It was, as you heard legally, it was the result of a court settlement. What we're trying to do now, in a conversation I had with our engineer this afternoon, they are interested in expanding their 4G coverage, not just their 5G. Verizon's looking at expanding their 4G. The problem is, like the mayor says, when in the middle of the summer on a heavy beach day, there's a tremendous amount of people on the beach, and the data, it's not enough bandwidth to take care of all the people videoing and everything else they're doing on their phones. So wait a minute, so what we're trying to do is have a conversation with Verizon to find out who the decision maker is from the Verizon and find out what they're trying to accomplish and see if there's another way for them to accomplish what they need to accomplish outside of putting those 20 5G poles along the boardwalk. That's the conversation we had this afternoon. There's no guarantees, because like everybody said, we are very late to the game here, but we are not throwing up the white flag. We're trying anything we can think of, and that is a conversation we had about 3 o'clock this afternoon. So, it's going to be an ongoing thing, and we're going to continue to try to just see what we can do to not have these put up.
Anyone else? Yes.
All right, two things. I'm not gonna get into that whole discussion if you guys all wanna talk about right now, but I will say, we could have a new tagline, come to Belmar, live off the grid. Right? But I do have a question. There's an RFP coming out for a grant writer. When is that gonna be released?
We did the resolution, correct?
Oh, is it out? Is it on the website?
No, you have to contact the purchasing agent, Bridget Dudas, to get the document.
So it's not publicly advertised on the website?
The notice was in the newspaper.
Okay.
But the actual document, you have to request that.
Okay, thank you.
Let's go with John.
John Walsh, B Street. We're here talking about this, the towers. There's strength in numbers. If you complain to them, it means something. But when 6,000 people complain to their representatives in Congress, in the Senate, that means something. That means a lot more. So if everybody wants to do something, right now, we're in a, everybody has computers. Just send an email. It takes a minute. And then they'll listen. My friend's father and mother, 14 kids, they tried to build LNG tanks on Staten Island. That was before computers. They stopped them. 14 kids. They stopped them. So you can do it. And it was a community thing. You want to fight? Fight for your community. That's a good cause, all right? Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I served on the zoning board of adjustment here for almost 10 years. And during that time, we had, I believe, 3 or 4 presentations by the cell phone companies. One was Sprint, Verizon, AT&T. I think we might have had another Verizon. It was explained to us by both our lawyer for the zoning board and the lawyer from the, or lawyers from the people who were presenting from the cell phone companies that we had absolutely no power. The laws that are made for the telecommunications companies are made by legislators that are bought and paid for by the telecommunications company. All they do is they give them a lot of money. They actually write the bills for the telecommunications legislation. The legislators actually vote on them, and so they get what they want. we had absolutely no power. We said we would resist. They said, fine, we'll take you to court. It's going to cost the community a lot of money. The taxpayers here will pay a lot of money to fight anything, and they will lose because you have no power. The law is written so that the telecommunications companies can get anything they want. They can put it where they want, as the mayor said. They can put it when they want. They can do anything. Now, you can try to negotiate, but basically, the engineers will say, this is what we want, this is what is required, and that's what you'll get. So you can do the things that you say, you can protest, you can say, oh, it's terrible, they should have worked harder. It won't come to anything. I can guarantee you that, and I saw it over 10 years.
Very good.
Janet Pizzolanti, 8th Street in Belmar. I certainly understand that 5G will be coming to Belmar, but I happened to be with the previous mayor from Old Bridge just today, and we had this conversation, and they had a very similar situation there. They also did in Cranford. So if 5G came in a place where they wanted it to, they were able to negotiate where those towers would go. So it certainly seems like there may be some place in town, other than our beautiful boardwalk, which is probably one of the nicest boardwalks in the entire area, to have these kinds of towers there. And I would hope that we would certainly fight to see what we can do to negotiate that.
I'd like just to say one more thing, Mr. Mayor.
Sure.
Tom Delberger, 1000 River Road. I agree with the last gentleman that just spoke. I'm a history buff. The last man in this country who actually went against the big outfit, the biggest at the time, the early 20th century, and beat them, was a guy, a southern guy named Huey Long. How many people heard of that guy? But he was something else. Huey Long. And he won. He beat Standard Oil. He beat them. Now this is the 21st century. We got Verizon and all these tech outfits and everything. But we got no Huey Long. That's it. That's the thing. And you know what they did with Huey Long? They killed him. You can point to a whole bunch of people that might have done it, but I'm sure Standard Oil was in that group. He beat them. You won't beat these people either unless you're willing to go his way.
Yes.
Good evening again, Katrina B. Street. Just to start out with what everybody's talking about, Verizon. I come to meetings every I don't know what's with this thing. I come to every meeting, and I've been coming for years and years and years. And I can tell you that there were discussions about this Verizon situation in public at these meetings over in the past administration. So it's not really late to the game, guys. They were talking about it. They brought everything out. They told everybody what was going on, but nobody was here at the meeting. So just so you know that. And Tom, you can attest to that because you were unfortunately part of that thing, I guess you would say. I'm going to switch gears a little bit. I just want to ask a couple questions. At the March 28th meeting, both Mayor and Maria, you stated something about the tourism fees changing because there was a state statute that was done incorrectly. Could you guys tell me, you didn't say what the statute was. Can somebody tell me what statute that was done incorrectly?
Yes, I can. If you give me a second to look. Give me a second, or George can.
It's not a statute that was done incorrectly.
No, the ordinance was done incorrectly based on the state statute that prohibited the increase.
What statute, what ordinance, what statute was it that the ordinance was done incorrectly about?
It was in the actually the ordinance, but I can let you know very quickly. Okay, Borough Ordinance 3-6.1, purpose.
I'm sorry, hold on one second. Ordinance 3-6.1. So that's the ordinance.
That's the ordinance, and in that section, it says, the borough hereby enacts a Tourist Development Commission ordinance and authorizes the borough to impose additional assessment described in section 3-6.6 to any fee imposed upon a licensee, it's supposed to be a license, or a license issued by the borough pursuant to NJSA 40:52-7.
Okay, hold on.
52-7.
NJ.
JSA
S.
40:52-7.
Okay.
Okay? If you go to that statute, it says clearly the maximum assessment is $200.
All right.
And that was the ordinance that was in effect since 1993.
Okay, thank you. I just want, you just stated the statute, but you didn't say what that statute was, so thank you for that information. Another question is, who is now the administrator of Belmar.com? Is there like one person administering our website?
I don't know that we have one person
Okay.
doing that.
Are we gonna get one person?
I don't know. We'll figure that out.
Oh, okay. And, so just so you know, because I know you like things to be the way they're supposed to be, as far as, the video is not on YouTube from last meeting.
Yes, it is. You have to look again. It was inadvertently put in a private room and it was changed to public.
When was that changed? Because I looked at it this morning and I couldn't find it.
It's there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And who's in charge of posting our videos from the meetings?
John Walsh posted the video.
They're under the live
Marshall
section.
took the video.
They're under
and
what?
it was posted.
It looks a little bit different, it's under live.
Yeah.
And that's what the videos will be.
Because I pulled up YouTube, I pulled up our Belmar.com, and all of the YouTube, since you guys have taken over, was right there, but except for this last one.
Yeah,
It's
it'll
just-
be under the live tab,
And will it eventually go into the other tab?
No.
Where the rest of them are?
because it's a live video, it lives there. So it's on the same.
It's on this, okay, okay, I had a hard time finding it, thank you. And, one more thing. Oh, is there any way we can get the sign put back up that was up last year about no electric bikes on the boardwalk ever? I mean, the people. We had that out last summer or last year, because people are riding on the boardwalk constantly with these electric bikes, and, somebody's gonna really get hurt. Is there any way?
Ask the chief.
I would check with the chief about where that sign came from, but we
Yeah.
definitely did it.
It was the one that you can fill in. Avon has one right in front on there.
It might have been,
right
it might have been a county sign, that's why I'm not sure.
now. Okay, great. Can we
Is
try
that
to
the one
get
that does
some?
the speed?
No, it's the big gigantic
static
orange sign that says
A
no.
static sign, you put the
No
message up
electric
and it
bikes
stays.
ever, because it's getting really, really dangerous up there. Somebody almost took me out the other night and,
Yeah, there's definitely no electric bikes.
it's really very dangerous. Okay, great. I think that's it for me. Thank you very much.
Okay, you're welcome.
Good evening. Crew Fromkin, 201 South Lake. Nice to see you all. A lot of exciting things happening. As it relates to the cell towers, I understand that there's a history here. There's no question. And I know that the town went through a lot of interactions over the last year and a half. And I know that we have a lot of change in our council for the town, and now also our council in the town. I do think a lot of this has to do with leadership. What happened in the last leadership is done with. Now I think the question is, does this council and does this mayor want to roll over and allow this to happen? There may be limitations, there may be other things that we have to consider as a town, but do we just want to roll over and let this happen? Because I think everybody here knows that this isn't let's use a bad word, but this is a really messed up situation. Beautiful beach, beautiful boardwalk, health issues, many things that can endanger this town. And I do understand why we may have chosen to do what we did in that settlement. But I also believe that that settlement may be errant and there's more that can be done. So I would ask the council, the mayor, and certainly our Township Attorney, George, to revisit this. Now, the other thing I would say is this is often about leadership. As I listen to these discussions, I really get confused. I find that we're having these open discussions in council meetings where we're actually speaking about what we believe the other parties believed and what they would say. And I would say, I would implore you to put, I know we can't stop the citizens from asking questions, but we can stop the council and mayor from making certain assertions, what the DEP would say, what Verizon would say, what Verizon did say. I don't think we have to carry their line and have open discussions about that from the council and mayor. So I would ask you don't have to respond to that, but I would ask you, I think that's your role, to make sure that we don't put ourselves and have open conjecture about things on behalf of other parties. I would also say that there's probably an opportunity for this mayor and this council to sit with you. Would you guys be able to help us know who was the litigator on our behalf? Was it our township council with Verizon, or do we have an outside litigator?
Yeah, I think it was Jerry Dasty's office.
Okay. Probably not the killer office. With great respect to Mr. Dasty, I'm sure there are some great litigators in this state. But I would argue that retaining an excellent litigator who has fought this in other towns, understands the issue, is something I would ask to be considered. Second of all, in my own very layman's understanding, I believe there are many angles. I guess my other question would be, other towns left and right of us are not putting up these towers, is that correct?
Towns don't put up the towers, Verizon puts them up.
Have allowed them to
Right.
put up.
No, they don't, because we are, you have to understand something.
Yeah.
They're here because this is where the people are.
No, I understand.
They're not gonna put a tower up in the middle of Wall Township.
Right.
20 towers.
Right.
Because they don't have
We're fighting their
people there,
cause, we're fighting their cause, and that's,
issue with your comment about us rolling over.
right.
I mean, no one has rolled over on this issue. If you want us to spend millions of dollars of the taxpayers' money to
I'm not
fight this,
actually-
we can do that.
I'm
Let me
actually-
speak now, please.
I didn't say anything.
Let me speak.
Sure, please.
You don't want us to roll over, you want us to fight it. Well, fighting costs money. You want us to spend hundreds of thousands and send, we'll hire a special counsel, we'll pay him $450 an hour, he'll make a motion before the court, the federal district court, and we'll probably pay thousands of dollars, and before you know it, he'll come back and he'll say, guess what, town? You're done, okay?
So we just fought their lawsuit for that.
All right, excuse me?
We just fought their lawsuit for that.
No, we didn't.
No, we just said what would happen. Listen.
You gotta understand something.
Maybe it has happened.
That know more and more, we're not giving, we're a public body. We need to discuss things in public. I cannot sit with the people and the council and the BA and have a discussion about what we're gonna do about Verizon. You know that, don't you? That I'm not permitted to do that?
You're not permitted to.
We are not permitted to meet in a room without the public, all of us here, and discuss what we're gonna do with Verizon. It's called the Open Public Meetings Act.
You as the mayor of this town cannot speak to your council about what the options are for this
Not,
town?
not along with my 4 council people. We cannot sit in a room together, even just the 4 of us, and say, we're going to talk about something, because that is considered a quorum, and by state law, we have to do that in front of the public.
Is that accurate?
Right? You seem confused, but that's like a basic tenet of
No, I'm not
public meetings.
I'm not confused, Mayor. Let's take a step back. I'm not the enemy.
No, I know, but if you come up here and you start telling us we're gonna be rolling over,
I said I would ask that you not roll over, and I believe the leaders of this town have an opportunity to go back at this, okay?
and it's gonna cost money.
Okay. Everything costs money.
First, I would like the attorney to explain the Open Public Meetings Act to you.
Yes, please.
Well, it's pretty simple. Anytime you have a quorum, you have to give notice of the meeting, and you have to give at least 48 hours notice. But the governing body can't get together and discuss things without the public. We can go into closed session, we can discuss litigation. I do want to say this, you have the right to speak, and you say, you feel that there's opportunity for the town to do something. And the other speaker spoke about talking to representatives higher up in government, and that's all fine. But every single one of those things, under the circumstances that we're operating, are Hail Marys, okay? So we have a settlement, and we have the FCC regulatory scheme that you're fighting against. So, you know, even opening up the settlement still puts you in a situation where you don't have the law on your side. So I don't know what happened in the last administration. I know that they dealt with this and they settled it. I wasn't privy to any of it, but there's certainly a lot to be said about trying to get a settlement that gets you something rather than nothing. So, you know, to even walk into court and say, we want to get rid of this settlement, the question is why? And the answer can't be because we don't like it.
Yeah.
Okay, so that right there is a hurdle that we have to get over. And you want to fight that. And I have clients that want to fight and fight and fight. And at the end of the day, they have a $100,000 bill and they look at, you know, at the attorney, because I don't get in those situations generally. But at the end of the day, you know, an attorney is sitting there with a big fat check. The client has a big fat loss, and they're wondering why they didn't get better advice.
Right.
So, you know, I don't know what happened back then. Now I'm telling the mayor and council, I'm telling everybody in this room. You don't have a lot of opportunity here to challenge this and fight. I know the mayor and the business administrator, they're doing what they can. With good suggestions to reach out to other politicians, that might be a fair thing to do. I mean, but other than that, you know, I don't see from a legal point of view the benefit of trying to reopen this. And I agree, I live in Belmar too, and I probably have lived here longer than most. 1963, I made my appearance here in Fair County. So I don't like the polls either. So, you know, if there's something we can do, we will, and we're actually working to see what that might be. Verizon has reached out a little bit. I don't know how much they're gonna bend or discuss.
I don't feel like we need to discuss it.
Yeah, well,
You know,
it's not litigation. You know, you're asking questions, we don't want to say, oh, we're not doing anything. You know.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. And I want to restate that my point of having this discussion was, this happened at a different time, okay? I think and by the way, I'm not naive to know what legal bills look like and why as a town we would want to run up bills or not. But I also have seen very smart strategic approaches in litigation and other approaches I still think would be at our disposal that we should consider beyond just reaching out to folks. And if, you know, I still would like to understand, and I'm not going to take this group's time today about a quorum and that a mayor can't sit with his council in closed session and have strategic discussions about how he can litigate and do certain things. So I'm still confused about that.
Yeah, well, maybe I'll clear up some confusion.
Yeah.
If you're talking about counsel as the attorney with an S, yeah, he can do that.
Oh, that's what I'm talking about.
But with the mayor and council.
No, I'm talking
with a C,
about,
no,
I'm talking about
okay,
you,
sure.
litigator.
No, the
Of
mayor
course.
and I talk often.
Right, so the point is that I think that there are a number of other things that could be considered. I also believe, as I asked, that I would ask that we be careful, not this group is gonna ask whatever they're gonna ask, but that as a group, when we're talking about what we did, what we're thinking of doing, what the other party would do, that we don't litigate that in open session. I don't think it helps us, that's all I'm saying, as you guys decide what you want to do. Okay, just.
And I know you probably don't want to do it here.
Yeah.
But if you have any suggestions that you want to send to me,
Yes.
be happy to read them.
I appreciate that. I just send in a lot of things that if I could get your information, I would love to do it. I have a hard time reaching people.
It's GDM
Okay.
at
I'll call my assistant.
McGill.com.
All right, I'll get it from you another time. Thank you for that. I appreciate
You
it.
can call April.
All right, long evening, April. I hope to get you. Okay, so thank you about that. I'm looking out for the town as you are. So I just feel like when we talk about what the DP is going to do or what we think they're going to do, it just doesn't help us. That's all I'm saying, okay?
Well, I have
You
the
may know
confidence-
what they're gonna do.
I have the confidence that Mr. McGill will shut me down immediately if I'm saying something that I
don't
shouldn't be
think we've gone
saying.
too far in any sort of
Okay.
sense, and I thought you might be going too far.
I don't think we're saying anything legal, the negotiations
No,
aren't legal.
but I'm sure he's watching out for all of us.
All right, George, Mr. McGill.
George is fine.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, just a couple other quick things. In terms of the cell tower placement, I think you made a statement, Mayor Buckafusco, last week about something down at the pavilion and where they're thinking of placing it. And you said if people have suggestions to reach out, what's the best way to do that?
I have an email, gbuckafusco@belmar.com. Pretty straightforward.
Okay, and
That's it.
I've been trying that, so. Okay, I'll try it again. Is your administrator, Mr. Kane, are you also available for those things? Thank you. And then budget surpluses, I guess over time, I understand budget gets voted on, that's what we operate on for the year. If things come up where we have a surplus, is there an opportunity for that to be brought to the public? Or for different opportunities to apply or allocate that surplus? So it just doesn't get a unilateral decision, we're gonna put it on 18th Avenue, or we're gonna put it on the inlet, or we're gonna put it, I mean, there are a lot of competing needs in the town, and I feel like sometimes these surpluses come up and all of a sudden they're allocated and there's no discussion with the citizens, so I'm just curious about.
There may come a day, because I know Kevin does that in his municipality. Some municipalities have started taking a certain chunk of money, surplus, and letting the residents kind of like vote on, have like a thing which would allow them to do that. I don't think we're at that this year, because we haven't really, we're only in, actually today, I think it's the 100th day of our administration. So, I mean, next year, I think we'd be more in good position to see if we could do that.
I
But,
appreciate it. I
that
think
would
we'd
be
all
something
appreciate
that,
it. Yeah.
and it's like a survey, some people want lights, some people want signs, some people want more chairs in the park, and it's kind of like put it all together and they figure out what they're gonna spend the money on.
Yeah, it's called participatory budgeting.
Yeah.
That'd be great. Okay, dynamite. And also, I agree with the signs. You already know this. There was some lady who said she was from PETA the other day throwing bagels in the lake, and I asked her not to do that. She told me that she's from PETA, so I thought, okay, throw as much as you want in the lake. But I think if something was there, and maybe even we could put a fine associated with it. I don't know what else is available to us, but that would be helpful.
I think there was an ordinance on it, I'm not sure. I think there's an ordinance statute underneath the sign.
Okay.
But it might not state the fine.
And you've already said it, and I agree with Jim, it'd be wonderful if as a council, we could reach out to DEP. If we could put something on our website, or maybe do, we have Nixle. I think that's been a really excellent way to go. If we could put something out, say, hey, write your senator, I think you'd have a lot of people doing it. I just think most people don't know. So anything you can do would be great. And I just want to state on my way out,
All these questions, you can't.
my primary objective here is only to do better for the town. If you took it as if it was an attack on you, it was not. But at the same time, I think leadership is everything, and I think we should also be open to, being able to do things in the most effective way. So I hope you'll take all those things that way. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Stuart Matari, I'm also on Ocean Avenue, and my husband and I just recently moved here also from North Jersey, and we were really surprised again about the towers, the cell towers. The first I heard of it was when I saw it on the tap through the email, and we had asked other long-term Belmar residents if they've ever heard about it, and nobody seemed to know anything about it until that newsletter went out and kind of made everybody aware of it. And I am concerned of the health consequences in my family and all the other residents that are on Ocean Avenue. We did pay a premium to be on that street, and now, Verizon is kind of, I feel like they're gonna take away the value, number one, of our houses and the health of us and our family. And we always come to the beach. We've been coming here for, a long time, over 30 years. and I've never had a problem with my Verizon service, so I don't know why they have to have all these cell towers, you know, on there, because I've never had any dead spots or anything, and we have Verizon. And I'm just also wondering if they are gonna put these towers on the boardwalk, are they gonna be like, kind of conforming with the lights that are there now, or do they have to?
Well, that's one of the
Place
things
all of the lights
that's one
down
of the
and make
things
them
we
look
were
the
trying to
same?
work out with them, because their plan is to put it right off the boardwalk, right, like at the end of each street, you know, in the street.
So it's not gonna be on the boardwalk, it's gonna be on the
Not
corner?
as they have it planned right now.
So like on 8th Avenue, it'd be on the corner of 8th Avenue and Main Street, not on the boardwalk where the light posts are?
It's gonna be on Ocean Avenue, right, if you go down any street, 5th Avenue, 6th Avenue, it's gonna be right where the entrance is, where you go on, there's going to be a pole there.
The east side of Ocean Avenue between the boardwalk and the curb.
Okay, so not actually on the boardwalk?
No.
So more on the,
Maybe like a 3 or 4 foot space.
Like where the rocks are, where the
Okay.
exit is, in there, next to the sidewalk.
yeah, because like I feel like I'm just gonna be sandwiched between these two 35-foot cell towers. And I live there now full-time, so it's not like somebody coming, you know, once or twice a year. Oh, they don't care about the radiation that they're getting, but I'm living there 24 hours a day, you know, with these, the radiation coming to me and my family, and that does live there full-time. Have they taken that into consideration? Like, did they do health studies?
You know, I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, if I might.
We're not gonna venture into that.
All I can tell you
We're
is
not
when-
doctors, and
Yeah,
When Verizon was putting the cell towers on top of the Mayfair,
yeah.
health concerns were brought up. And we were told specifically that the FCC doesn't consider those health studies valid, and you cannot use that as any kind of, you know, in your favor, any part of your argument in favor. They will not consider that at
But this is
all.
also 5G,
No.
it's new technology that we don't know
That's
what's
their
gonna
position is
happen.
it's not valid. That's their position, and the court agrees with them, and the FCC agrees with them. Unfortunately, we're really stuck here where our hands are tied.
Well, I mean, if there is gonna be a committee against these towers, I would like to be a part of it. If somebody is willing to step up, I don't know if I can, I would, I don't know where to start, you know, to get those emails out to our senators and try to get some kind of, you know, just something, you know. Better than nothing, I mean, we could just try, and then if they say no, then they say no, but at least, you know, we tried to do something, you know, because it would be a shame. It is such a beautiful town. And again, you know, here we are, Spring Lake doesn't have to worry about it, and Avalon doesn't worry about it, and, you know, we end up worrying about it, and we deal with all the other stuff that goes on in the summertime, with the crowds and the loud music, and, you know, the car, whatever, the car meets that they have. Now this is another thing that we're gonna have to deal with, you know, which I don't think is very fair. But that's just my opinion, and I don't know if it matters or not, but I just wanted to speak my mind.
thank you for your
All right, and if
comments.
anybody does want to set up some kind of committee, anybody in this room, you know, if we could get together, or maybe have a public meeting specifically on the cell towers, and we can discuss about it. I have owned my house for a long time, but we just moved recently, but I've never gotten any notices or anything. Like usually when somebody does, an addition or something, the whatever circumference of people are notified by some kind of letter. Like I didn't get any letters, I got nothing except that TAP newsletter that I happened to
And the
see.
only reason why that came out was because I mentioned it at the meeting,
Yeah.
to put everyone on notice, or else had I not said anything, you'd see
Well,
them up.
I'm glad you did,
the next
because-
time. But
yeah.
I wanted to put people on notice so they weren't shocked when they saw 35-foot poles
Yeah.
going up.
All right, thank you.
Just a quick comment, I promise.
Just so I'm clear, is the settlement that was done with Verizon, is it defining where those poles are supposed to be, or it's not? It's defining where it's supposed to be, so really it's a negotiation to try to get them off that part of the settlement, is that fair?
Yeah. For my
Which is good to
comment,
hear, yeah.
yeah, we're trying to find out, honestly, what they're trying to accomplish. And is there another way to do it outside of those 20 5G poles along the east side of Ocean Avenue? That's what we're trying to do, is get to, be able to talk to somebody from Verizon and just find out what the goals are.
So just so common sense, those poles are not being put up for the 50,000 people that are here 2 months. Those poles are gonna serve other parts of communities, trust me. They don't serve, no one needs poles like that to serve.
I think that's a mistaken assumption. Because first of all, 5G does not go through walls. So if you could be right outside a 5G pole, you're not gonna get 5G service in your house because 5G waves do not penetrate.
So the only hope the town has is if somebody with pressure, politicians, to your discussion with Verizon, can help sway them from putting those on the beach. That's it. I mean, there's definitely a good idea to get groups together,
That's it.
but I gotta
That's a
tell
great
you,
suggestion.
I think the best route is to communicate with your representatives quickly. Because you didn't set 50 meetings, I don't think it's gonna change the mix. I think your communication out to this group, to your congressman, your assemblyman, that's the only place you can go, and you gotta do it tomorrow. That's it. And we hope that you can have negotiation, or if you need some strength in that negotiation, I'm sure there's other people we can bring in from the state that can maybe help you if you need it. This is the only hope left, right? Is that fair? I know Mr. Brennan's been through it. I know what it's like.
I would go as far as contacting our United States senators.
Yes, I
You know,
know.
we have two,
Absolutely.
I'm sure many of them have been in Belmar. So they know what's going on.
An email, call their offices.
Yeah. Email.
Call them up.
Petition.
Call Congressman Smith, call Booker.
We know Smith, we'll call Smith and see if we can take from there. But yeah, it sits with you, it sits with the town, and I know no one in this room wants these. Nobody. But fight and battle when you can, what's left of the battle. To at least get
And that's not to say that, you know, and this is a long shot, that even if they go up, that that you still haven't lost the battle. You know, you could still fight to see if you could get them removed, but it's much, much harder.
It's now,
Once once that happens.
Fight hard now or they'll fight it all. So hopefully.
Which is the plan.
That's the plan.
I get it.
Hi.
Thank you, everybody. My name is Belmar 709 Ocean Avenue. Just want to tell you a quick story. I own the building with a cell tower on it. If they had to do any work on my roof, they had to shut down those roofs because they were so unsafe that they wouldn't let a roofer work on these things. So we can't say there's nothing wrong with this, that there's no radiation, nothing else coming out, because I watched it. Then I saw another tower come to me, and they want to put another tower on it. So we said, okay, what do we got to do? They brought a committee, let's go get this thing taken care of. I watched RF guys sweat. I watched lawyers sweat, Verizon people sweat about trying to get this other cell tower on what's already another cell tower on the roof. So the story is that we can fight them because they're not big bad guys that you can't get to. You can get to them. And they do sweat over things. They do worry about it. Literally, one guy showed up to contest the tower, and you just see these guys shake. It was unbelievable. And all I had to do was go talk to that guy and say, what's your problem? And all he wanted to do as a citizen was, can you paint that thing, make it look like the building? So I'm not looking at these steel towers. And I went up to the guy and said, can you do that? Yeah, so they built a beautiful little structure over a brick building, made it look like it, like they do in the parkway when they make it look like trees.
Right.
And the other point is, and keep your point, guys, so it doesn't have to be on Ocean Avenue to affect the people, 50,000 people who come, whatever, for the weekend to hang out. It could be 2 blocks back, and I'm sorry to try and put anybody else's back up, but this is the ocean. We're talking about Ocean Avenue, you know?
But we need an expert to.
And like I said, we're all on the same team, I get it. We're all on the same team when we get it, but it's not over. It shouldn't be over. Really, it
We'll
shouldn't.
keep trying.
Yeah.
As best we can.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Linda Sharkus, 4th Avenue. I just want to say, we have 5G in here. So we have a 5G tower on the roof, right? Going through the walls?
But I think you're getting 5G from Wi-Fi here.
No, it's on the roof.
But I don't think it's coming through
Well,
I'm not a technician. It's not coming from the thing on the roof.
all right, I just wanted to point that out, I believe, but I don't get it in my...
Because there are other aspects to it, you know. if they can run 4G and some other variant of 4G that when you look at it on your phone, it looks like it's 5G. I mean, the real test is to do a speed test and see how fast, if you're getting the 5G speeds on your phone. If you're not getting the 5G speeds, then you're not in true 5G. Okay? The other thing I would say, and just you know, for people who have children doing the research, everybody worries about the radiation from the towers. This is the thing you need to worry about. So, you know, I would ask your physicians, especially if you have children, pediatricians, what they think about children putting phones up to their head like this.
Thank you. Nothing about the towers. Sharon Mahoney again.
I was charging after the.
I know, yeah. So, somebody talked about the e-bikes. It's not just the e-bikes, it's anything motorized. You have those skateboards that are motorized. Yes, and and they've scared because you just had to be on Spring Lake Boardwalk too, and I want to talk to them because they also just say e-bikes. So that's their way around it. Oh, it just says e-bikes. So it's the skateboards, it's also the scooters. Anything that I say, if you want to use the right word, anything that's powered, no powered vehicles, you know, that kind of covers everything on the boardwalk.
Well, there's no skateboards allowed on the boardwalk at all. I mean, that's.
Does it say scooters
No
though?
skateboards at all.
No skateboards.
But what is it, what are scooters? They're becoming popular now,
We
so
might-
again, yeah, so anything powered, I would say would be it.
Anything with two wheels, that's human powered.
Yeah. But
Or
the
living
skateboard,
things with 4 legs.
but the
They
skate,
don't allow that either.
but those skateboards have one wheel in the center. That's one wheel. So again, anything powered, I think might cover, you know, that. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
Go ahead. Eugene Creamer, Fourth Avenue. Thank you, Mayor. I did see that public notice regarding the geotech board out in the ocean off of Belmar, Spring Lake, and I guess it was Seagirt and Manasquan. I know around Christmas time, they were taking geotechnical boards off of Avon and just north of the inlet there. And that's a location where in Avon, they've had for years transatlantic communication cables go under the ocean and over to Europe and I guess Africa. In fact, right up there by Sylvan Lake, and that geologic area has all been tested. So I see now that they're starting to look at Belmar, and like you said, Spring Lake and so on. What these offshore power developers have to do is tie in somewhere with the grid. And my best guess estimate that we won't really see much of an impact here at Belmar. We do have on 18th Avenue and Railroad, we have a JCP&L substation, and they have in excess of 5 acres of property, so they certainly can build a very large substation, maybe even a switching station. There already is, that's where our sewer pipe from the South Monmouth Regional Sewage Authority, if this is going to impact anybody, this would be in Lake Como. Very little of Belmar would be impacted by it. In fact, I suspect what they're looking at is to follow existing routes for where they lay cable and where there's pipes buried. South Monmouth Regional Sewage Authority, just about opposite the gate, Ocean Avenue gate before you get into Spring Lake, that goes out about a little bit less than, I believe, a half a mile. So really what these people would be doing would be installing a low-grade transmission line
between the ocean, the east end of Lake Como, and run that line up 18th Avenue to the Jersey Central Power and Light substation. Belmar, as you know, Belmar is a peninsula. This is not the place that they would really want to land an electric transmission line. But out there on 18th Avenue, they may very well be looking at that. Likewise, when you get into Avon and Bradley Beach, along the railroad, there are some substations. Actually, I think both towns have substations there right along the railroad right away. So we may actually get some benefit from that as far as our electricity is concerned. The electricity, if it's delivered to the substation at 18th and Railroad, heck, we may be using carbon-free electricity in the future. We did it, by the way, up until 2018. We did use carbon-free electricity that came from Oyster Creek Nuclear Generating Station. In fact, when I first moved to Belmar, I did move into a totally electric apartment. And at that time, we got reduced rates being in proximity to the Oyster Creek Nuclear Power Plant, but that's shut down now. Getting back to the Verizon, I tried to identify all the players when anything like this comes up. And regarding Verizon on Ocean Avenue, the players include, number one, the FCC, number two, the Borough of Belmar, number three, the NJDEP. This would require a CAFR permit. Number four would be, oh, by the way, I wanted to list these from federal down, but I put Belmar as number two, just so I didn't want you to get discouraged. But actually, the DEP with the CAFR permit, and we know we've had success with that in town. We've had proposed development with the Mediterranean project. I don't think we've heard anything from them lately after the DEP responded to them. So and I'm not the DEP with the CAFR permit for the poles would be required. So there's going to be a lot of opportunity, in fact, perhaps a lot more public interest. The next player on the list is Monmouth County. Actually, the plan that I saw putting these small cell systems up on the east side of Ocean Avenue, it's not the borough's property. Not the borough's property at all. It's Monmouth County. And Monmouth County holds a dedication deed from the from the borough of Belmar, excuse me. So we don't own that property. The people that really are going to have the hammer here, or oversight of the construction details, will be Monmouth County. Our boardwalk, actually the border with Monmouth County is the sharp edge of the Trex boardwalk. That if Birds Hall did their job in surveying correctly, that boardwalk, that Trex board edge is of the straight line portion, is the boundary between Monmouth County and the borough of Belmar. The borough of Belmar, the bump outs for access, your staircases, your ramps, your railings, and so on, they are actually on Monmouth County, within Monmouth County's right of way. And there is some curbing there, and there is some stonework and BFRs, big rocks. And but that's all of Monmouth County property, and they have complete control over that. I think what, by the way, I do like FCC regulations. I always look to, number one, you have to realize that when the FCC writes regulations, they have to apply to all 50 states. There's no exception for this place or that place or what have you. But I do look for wisdom to emerge from their regulations, and I think I found it. One of those things that the FCC requires for small cell installations is that the electricity has to be a meter hooked up to it. And Verizon's drawings that I've seen with the cell towers does have a meter pan where JCP&L or whoever's going to sell the electricity to Verizon would have the meter mounted. Now, we asked about when Verizon proposes any sort of wireless system, what they really mean is there's going to be cables, and there's going to be power cables, and there's going to be fiber optic cables. You might notice, you may not notice, there is no overhead electric or fiber along the east side of Ocean Avenue. So there's got to be a way to get to each one of these 20 locations to get fiber and also for JCP&L to get power there. I'm not sure what Monmouth County is. Number one, you got to remember, we don't pave Ocean Avenue. Ocean Avenue is Monmouth County, and they do take good care of it. In fact, I wish my street was paved as nicely as Ocean Avenue. Also, our parking, the diagonal parking, is on within Monmouth County's right of way, not the borough of Belmar. So we have all the access, all the parking is on property that's the right of way that's controlled by Monmouth County. I did get a copy, and I opened from Monmouth County, a copy of the agreement that Verizon has with Monmouth County, and it has to be updated for the locations that are being proposed here. It does have a couple locations in Avon and other towns in Monmouth County, and I guess what Verizon is telling us is that we would get, they would be supplying us with the same type of agreement that Monmouth County has issued to them in other places. I'm not sure whether Verizon had, one thing that you can do is, as a strategy, is, you gotta remember that Verizon's a business. So one thing as a strategy may be to do whatever you can to influence the cost. We don't want some cheap job. By the way, when I looked at Verizon's drawings, their meter pan is for overhead service. We do live in a town where Jersey Central Power and Light Company and Verizon and Cablevision have overhead franchises. That doesn't mean you can't put those utilities underground, but none of the utilities will pay for that. In other words, like Inlet Terrace has underground electric and phone service and so on. When that was installed, they paid a premium for that. I'm not sure at this stage of the game whether Verizon is counting on installing 1.3 miles of underground electric and fiber, especially on the east side of Ocean Avenue. I'm not sure what that cost is nowadays, but their drawings right now do not reflect that. They reflect overhead service. And I'm sure none of us want to see overhead. By the way, we don't have any overhead crossing Ocean Avenue, the full length, the full 1.3 miles. Avon, I believe, has 3 lines. That's because they have lighting on the east side. We have our own underground feed, and I guess about, we have our own electric source on the boardwalk. I guess the reason I'm bringing that up is, you know, if they're gonna spend that sort of money running 1.3 miles of electric line on the east side of Ocean Avenue, then perhaps we may better start thinking about what about charging electric vehicles. Is there some way that Verizon can help us with that? Because I think what we're talking about now is that by 2035, California, you're not going to be able to buy a gas vehicle. And we're all going to have to go switch over to electric. Well, anyhow, I think there's a lot of players here. I'm not sure, I could argue both sides, all right? But I think you have to decide what you really want and find out who the other players are and perhaps influence them. As far as Monmouth County is concerned, that decision's up to the Monmouth County engineer. And Monmouth County engineer has done a very good job in Belmar. Number one, they allow us to diagonally park on their paved surface. And I'm not sure they really want to open up 1.3 miles of trench in order to install underground utility, because it would have to be repaved. That's where parking spaces are. Okay. I started with the borings, and I didn't really mean to bore you.
Make a good point. Good point.
Yeah.
It's a good point. It's a really good point.
I'll be done in a minute. Joe Kozlowski, A Street. I'm not here to talk about Verizon, but I'm here to talk about Optimum. You talk about Arbor Day and trees. Take a look from 20th Street on A Street all the way down to 5th Street, and the poles look like they're sprouting wires. It's a sloppy, shoddiest job I've ever seen in my life. The wires, 5-year-olds can touch the wires hanging off all the poles, not only on my block, but all the way down and throughout the city. So somebody ran roughshod and do their job. It's actually like we're living in New Delhi. That's how the wires look. And that's about it. So take a look at that.
We can maybe ask Jim to take a look, our engineer.
It's it's like 20, almost a mile and a half the way the wires run around the way they want to. Thank you.
Any other comments?
Can I have a motion to close the public session and adjourn the meeting?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.